January 12th, 1889, 14 degrees below zero. The kind of cold that makes your teeth hurt and your breath turn to ice in the air. Snow had been falling for 3 days, piling higher than the fence rails, covering the world in white silence. I was breaking ice on the horsewater trough, same as every morning, when I heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Not wind, not an animal, something weaker. I followed it to the frozen creek bed where the cottonwood trees stand like skeleton fingers. There, half buried in a pile of snow, was a burlap feed sack. The kind we used for grain. Only this one was moving, barely. I pulled back the frozen fabric and saw her. A girl, maybe 22 years old. Lips blue as twilight, wrists tied with wire, bruises like storm clouds on her throat. Someone had thrown her away, left her to freeze like trash. Behind me, my 5-year-old daughter Clem whispered, her mittened hand grabbing my coat. "Papa, she's got Mama's hair." I lifted the girl. Her eyes opened once, then she screamed. The scream died fast. Her breathing came shallow, rattling like wind through a cracked window. I took off my coat and wrapped it around her. The burlap sack fell away. More bruises underneath. Old ones yellow and green. Fresh ones purple and black. Wire had cut deep into her wrists. The kind of wire they use in institutions. "Papa, is she dead?" Clem's voice was small. "Not yet." I picked up the girl in my arms. She weighed almost nothing. Bones and cold skin. Her head fell against my chest. I could feel her heartbeat, faint and uneven, like a bird trapped in a box. Clem walked behind me, boots crunching in the snow. She started singing one of Martha's old lullabies. "Hush now. Don't you cry. Morning comes with light." The girl's eyelids moved. She didn't wake, but something in her face softened. Halfway home, her breathing stopped. I counted to 10. Nothing. Counted to 20. Still nothing. I pressed my ear to her chest. Felt for the pulse in her neck. There, barely. A thread of life thin as spider silk. "Keep singing, Clem." My daughter's voice shook, but she sang louder. By the time we reached the ranch house, blood had soaked through my shirt. The girl's wrists were still bleeding. I kicked the door open and carried her straight to the fireplace. The fire was down to glowing coals. I built it back up, hands shaking from cold and something else. Fear, maybe, or anger at whoever had done this. Clem dragged blankets from the bedroom. I took off the girl's frozen clothes, rags really, thin as cheesecloth. Her skin was spotted, white and gray, frostbite on her fingers. Her toes were worse. I wrapped her in every blanket we owned, tucked them tight around her, leaving only her face showing. "Go get the milk," I told Clem. "Warm it, but don't let it boil." She ran to the stove. I heard the clatter of the pot, the scrape of the ladle. I pulled Martha's blue handkerchief from my pocket, the one she'd used the day she died. I'd kept it folded in my coat ever since, 4 years now. I used it to dry the girl's face. Her hair was matted with ice and blood. Dark hair, almost black, like Martha's had been. Clem returned with a tin cup, steam rising from the milk. I lifted the girl's head and tipped the cup to her lips. Most of it dribbled down her chin, but some went in. She coughed once, twice. Her eyes opened wide and wild like a cornered animal. She saw me first, saw Clem, then she saw the fire, the blankets, the walls around her. Her whole body went stiff. She tried to pull away, but she didn't have the strength. "You're safe," I said, low and steady. "No one here is going to hurt you." She stared at me. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Clem knelt beside the cot, holding her ragged doll, the one Martha had sewn before she died. "Mama said I should share this with someone who needs it more." She tucked the doll under the girl's arm. The girl's fingers closed around it, slow, unsure. Then she whispered one word, "Cold." Not help, not thank you, just that, saying what she'd been, what she still was. I pulled another blanket from the chest. As I did, I noticed Clem standing at the window. She'd drawn something in the frost. 3 stick figures, tall one, small one, medium one, a family. But even as I watched, the warmth from the fire made the drawing melt, dripping down the glass like tears. The girl saw it too. Her eyes followed the melting lines. Then she looked back at the doll in her arms. Outside, the wind picked up. Snow began to fall harder. I could hear it piling against the door, drifting up the walls. I walked to the window and looked out at the storm. "We've got 1 day," I said. More to myself than anyone. Maybe 2 before we're snowed in for a week. Clem pressed her face against my leg. "Can she stay, Papa?" I looked down at the girl on the cot. She was watching us now, still cautious, still afraid, but alive. "Yeah," I said. She can stay. The girl's eyes closed. Her breathing became even. The doll slipped from her fingers and Clem gently tucked it back under her arm. I added wood to the fire one more time, listened to the wind howl, felt the cold seeping through the cracks in the walls. Somewhere out there, someone had tried to kill this girl, and somewhere out there, they might come looking to finish the job. Morning came gray and cold. The storm had passed, leaving 3 feet of fresh snow. I was outside shoveling a path to the barn when I heard the sleigh bells. Beatrice Hollis came up the road, her old mare pulling a small sled. She was bundled in furs, a woven basket balanced on her lap. "Silas," she nodded as she climbed down. Her breath fogged the air between us. "Beatrice," she didn't waste time. "Word's already spreading. You found a girl. Brought her home." "That's right. Folks are talking." She handed me the basket. "Preserves, bread, dried meat. Saying she might be dangerous, might be sick, might bring trouble." I set the basket down. She was half dead in a sack. What was I supposed to do? "I'm not saying you were wrong." Beatrice glanced toward the house. "I'm saying you need to be careful. Town's on edge. Last month, a drifter stole from the store. Before that, a fire took the Johnsons' barn. People see trouble everywhere now." From inside, I heard Clem's voice, soft and chattering, talking to the girl like she'd known her all her life. Beatrice heard it too. "How's she doing?" "The girl? Waking up? Not talking much. Let me see her." We went inside. The girl was sitting up now, blankets wrapped around her shoulders. Clem sat beside her, showing her how to braid a piece of string. Beatrice stopped in the doorway. Her face went pale. "What is it?" I asked. She crossed the room slowly, eyes fixed on the girl's left wrist. "May I?" The girl flinched but didn't pull away. Beatrice pushed back the blanket. There on the inside of her wrist was a mark, a brand. The letter C, maybe 3 inches long, raised and ugly. "I've seen this before," Beatrice whispered. The girl yanked her arm back, tucking it under the blanket. Beatrice turned to me, voice low. 20 years ago, I worked at St. Catherine's Foundling Home in Billings. Before I married, before I moved here, what's that got to do with they branded the difficult ones, the ones who fought back, the ones who tried to run?" Her hands were shaking. "That mark means she came from there." The girl's eyes were wide now, fixed on Beatrice, not with fear, with recognition. "St. Catherine's burned down 2 weeks ago," Beatrice continued. "Heard about it in town. 2 boys died. They're saying someone set the fire on purpose." The wind rattled the windows. Clem looked up from her string, confused. "You saying she did it?" I asked. "I'm saying that's what they'll think." Beatrice straightened, pulled her shawl tighter. "If the law comes looking, you need to be ready." She moved toward the door, then stopped and looked back at the girl. "I kept a journal back then," she said quietly. "Against the rules. Wrote down everything I saw, things they did to those children. Things that should have been crimes, but nobody cared." The girl's lips parted. She leaned forward slightly as if trying to hear better. "I still have it," Beatrice said. "Hidden in case I ever got brave enough to use it." She left without another word. The sleigh bells faded down the road. Clem tugged my sleeve. "Papa, what's a foundling home?" "A place for children with no family. Like Mama's in heaven?" "Something like that." The girl spoke then. Her voice was rough, like she hadn't used it in a long time. "They sold us," I turned. She was staring at the fire now, arms wrapped around herself. "The children at St. Catherine's," she said. "They sold us to factories, to farms, to men who wanted other things." Clem's hand found mine. "I found the ledger," the girl continued. "Names, dates, payments. I tried to tell someone. They locked me in the cellar." She swallowed hard. "Then the fire started." "Did you start it?" I asked. She didn't answer right away, just stared at the flames. Outside, I heard horses. Multiple horses coming fast. The knock was loud, commanding. 3 hard raps that shook the doorframe. I grabbed my rifle from above the mantel. "Clem, take her to the loft." "Papa, now!" Clem pulled the girl toward the ladder. The girl moved slow, her frostbitten feet barely holding her weight, but she climbed. I waited until I heard the loft boards creak. Then I opened the door. A man stood on the porch, tall, clean-shaven. Unusual for these parts. His coat was tailored, city-made. A silver star gleamed on his chest. Behind him, 2 other men sat on horses, hands resting on their guns. "Silas Brennan?" the man asked. That's me. Marshal Owen Fletcher, Territorial Law. He pulled a folded paper from his coat. I'm looking for a fugitive. Young woman. Early 20s, dark hair, escaped from St. Catherine's founding home 2 weeks ago. Lot of young women pass through these parts. Fletcher smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. This one's wanted for arson and manslaughter. 2 children died in that fire. Church is offering a reward. I kept my face blank. What makes you think she's here? Widow in town saw you carrying something up from the creek yesterday. Said it looked like a body. He tilted his head. Was it? Found a coyote carcass. Burned it? Fletcher's smile widened. Mind if I look around? I do mind. You got a warrant for my property? He unfolded the paper and held it up. Official seal, signatures, the whole works. Signed by Judge Harmon himself. My grip tightened on the rifle. Storm's coming back. You can see the clouds. You try to take anyone through that, they'll die. Fletcher glanced at the sky, gray and heavy, full of snow. I'll give you 2 hours, he said. Storm hits. I'll come back when it clears, but I will be back, Brennan. With or without your cooperation. He paused. He stepped closer, voice dropping. You know what they're saying about her. She's not a victim. She's an arsonist, a killer. You keep her here. You're harboring a fugitive. That's a federal crime. From above, a board creaked. Fletcher's eyes flicked to the ceiling. 2 hours, he repeated. Then he smiled, cold and knowing. Oh, and Brennan. He pulled a small photograph from his pocket. Faded, cracked. A woman holding an infant. She's my niece, he said softly. My sister's half-breed mistake. Been looking for her a long time. He tipped his hat, turned, and walked back to his horse. I stood in the doorway, watching them ride away. My hands were shaking, not from cold, from rage. Above me, I heard the girl crying, soft, broken sounds that tore through the silence. Clem's voice drifted down. It's okay, Mama. Papa won't let them take you. I closed the door and bolted it. Outside, the first snowflakes began to fall. The storm hit hard. Wind howled through the valley, shaking the walls. Snow piled against the windows until we couldn't see out. We were trapped, all 3 of us. Clem fell asleep by the fire, the doll tucked under her chin. I sat at the table, cleaning my rifle. The girl, I still didn't know her name, sat on the edge of the cot, staring at nothing. He's your uncle? I asked quietly. She nodded, barely. You got a name? Eliza. Her voice was a whisper. Eliza Thorne. I set the rifle down. You want to tell me what happened? She pulled the blanket tighter. I was 10 when they brought me to St. Catherine's. Don't remember much before that. Just voices shouting. Someone saying I was wrong, dirty. The fire popped. A log settled. I grew up there, she continued. Learned to keep my head down. Do what they said. But girls kept disappearing. New ones came. No one asked questions. Until you did. I was cleaning the warden's office. Found a loose board behind the desk. Her fingers twisted in the blanket. There was a book, leather-bound, pages and pages of names, children's names, dates, amounts of money. A ledger. Yes. She looked at me then. Her eyes were hollow. They were selling us. Some to factories, some to farms, some, she swallowed. Some to men who paid extra. My jaw tightened. I confronted the matron, Eliza said. Showed her the ledger. She smiled. Just smiled. Then she called 2 men. They beat me. Locked me in the cellar for 3 days. Clem stirred in her sleep. Eliza's gaze drifted to her. The fire started in the middle of the night, she whispered. I heard screaming, smelled smoke. Someone opened the cellar door. I never saw who. I ran. Did you start it? She shook her head. I wanted to. I thought about it, but I didn't. Her voice cracked. 2 boys died anyway. In the kitchen. Grease fire, they said later. But they blamed me. Easier to blame the girl who already caused trouble. She pulled up her sleeve. The brand gleamed in the firelight. They caught me a week later, tied me up, put me in that sack. Her breath hitched. Your uncle said I was trash. Said I should have died the day I was born. Then he threw me in the snow. She lowered her sleeve. Her hands were shaking. I crawled, she said. I don't know how far. My hands and feet went numb. I couldn't feel anything. I just kept moving because if I stopped, I'd freeze. Across the room, Clem woke. She padded over, barefoot on the cold floor, and climbed onto the cot beside Eliza. Papa has scars too, Clem said softly. She pointed to my boots. He lost 3 toes in a blizzard. That's why he limps. Eliza looked at me, really looked for the first time. You tried to save something, I said. That's not a crime. 2 boys are dead. Not because of you. She closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Clem wrapped her small arms around Eliza's waist. Mama used to say, broken things are still good. You just have to be careful with them. Eliza's breath caught. She held Clem like she was afraid she'd disappear. Outside, the wind screamed. Inside, for a moment, it was quiet. Then Eliza whispered, I buried the ledger before they caught me, under a sycamore tree just outside the orphanage fence. I leaned forward. It's still there. I don't know, maybe. That ledger could prove everything. It could. She looked at me, eyes red-rimmed. But getting it means going back, and I can't go back there. I stood and walked to the window. Snow covered everything. No tracks, no movement, just white silence. You don't have to, I said. But we need someone who will stand up for you. Someone the law will listen to. Who? Doctor, I said. If he examines you, writes down your injuries, that's evidence. Medical testimony holds weight. Eliza's hand went to her wrist, covering the brand. There's a doctor in town? She asked. Traveling physician. Comes through once a month. Should be here any day now. I turned back to her. If the storm passes, if he's snowed in somewhere close, we might get lucky. She nodded slowly. Okay. Clem yawned and curled up against Eliza's side. See, Mama, Papa always knows what to do. Eliza's fingers stroked Clem's hair, gentle, careful, like she was afraid she'd break her. The knock came at dawn, not hard like Fletcher's weary. I opened the door. A man stood there, covered in snow, black bag in hand. Dr. Josiah Grant, he said. His breath came in clouds. Horse threw a shoe 2 miles back. So your smoke, come in. He stumbled inside, teeth chattering. I sat him by the fire and poured him coffee. He wrapped his hands around the cup, eyes half closed. Then he saw Eliza. She was standing now, blanket around her shoulders, one hand braced against the wall. Her frostbitten feet made standing painful. Dr. Grant set down his cup. She needs medical attention. I know. He stood and grabbed his bag. Let me see. Eliza hesitated and looked at me. He's a doctor, I said. He can help. She sat on the cot. Dr. Grant knelt and examined her feet first. His face darkened. How long was she exposed? Don't know. At least a day, maybe 2. He moved to her hands and unwrapped the makeshift bandages I'd made. 3 fingers on her left hand were black at the tips. She'll lose these, he said quietly. If infection sets in, maybe the whole hand. Eliza didn't flinch, just stared at the wall. Dr. Grant noticed her wrists then, the wire cuts, the bruising. He touched them gently, professionally. These are restraint marks, he said. Institutional. I've seen them before. Where? I asked. Factory fire. 3 years back. They pulled a child out, 10 years old, had marks just like these. He looked up at me. She'd been chained to a loom. He pulled out a small notebook and began writing. Date, time, observations. I'm documenting this, he said. Medical testimony. If there's a trial. There will be, I said. He nodded and kept writing. Then he saw the brand. His pen stopped moving. My God, he whispered. Eliza pulled her arm back, but Dr. Grant caught her hand. Not rough, just firm. I've seen these injuries before, he said. On people who've been beaten, restrained, abused. He looked at me. This girl is a victim, not a criminal. Will you testify to that? Dr. Grant closed his notebook and looked at Eliza, at Clem, who was watching from the corner, at me. I'll testify to what I see, he said. And what I see is someone who survived something no person should have to. Eliza's shoulders sagged. Relief, or maybe just exhaustion. Thank you, she whispered. Dr. Grant packed his bag. Storm's not letting up. I'm snowed in here for at least 2 days. You're welcome to stay. I'm a witness now, he said, whether I like it or not. He glanced toward the window. Snow still falling, no end in sight. When Fletcher comes back, Dr. Grant said, I'll be here. Clem smiled, ran to Eliza, and took her hand. See, she said. We're keeping you. Eliza looked down at her, then at me. For the first time since I'd found her, something like hope flickered in her eyes. Outside the wind howled, but inside the fire burned warm. The storm broke on the 3rd day. Sun came out pale and cold, glinting off snow that reached the windowsills. Dr. Grant was at the table, writing in his journal. Eliza sat near the fire, teaching Clem how to braid. Her bandaged fingers moved slowly, carefully. I was outside chopping wood when I heard them. Horses, 3 of them. I set down the axe and grabbed my rifle from inside the door. Fletcher rode up front. Behind him, 2 men I'd never seen before. Hard faces, guns on their hips. The kind of men you hire when you want someone hurt. Fletcher got off his horse and smiled. "Storm passed," he said. "Told you I'd be back. Said you'd come with a judge. Don't need one." He pulled a paper from his coat. Different from the warrant. Emergency order signed by the territorial governor. Fugitive is to be handed over into custody immediately. No trial necessary. My grip tightened on the rifle. "She's not going anywhere." Fletcher's smile widened. "That's obstruction of justice, Brennan. Federal crime. I can arrest you too. Then what happens to your daughter?" Behind him, one of the hired guns moved toward the barn, the other toward the house. "Tell your men to stop," I said. Fletcher shrugged. "They're just looking around, making sure you're not hiding anything." The door opened. Dr. Grant stepped out, black bag in hand. "Marshal," he said. "I'm Dr. Josiah Grant. I've examined the girl. She has injuries consistent with severe abuse and long exposure." "She's a victim, not a criminal." Fletcher barely glanced at him. "That's not for you to decide, Doctor. I'm prepared to testify. Testimony won't matter if she doesn't live to see trial." Fletcher's eyes were cold. "This area is dangerous. Blizzards, wild animals, accidents happen." The threat hung in the air like smoke. From inside, I heard Clem's voice, high and frightened. "Papa," I turned. One of the hired guns was in the doorway, hand on his pistol. Eliza stood in front of Clem, blanket wrapped around both of them. "Get away from them," I said. The man didn't move. Fletcher stepped closer to me. "You've got 2 choices, Brennan. Hand her over now. Walk away clean. Or resist and I charge you with obstruction, harboring a fugitive, and whatever else I can think of." He paused. "Think about your daughter's future. Think about who will raise her when you're in prison." My finger hovered near the trigger. Dr. Grant's voice was steady. "I'm a witness to this conversation, Marshal. Threatening a citizen, intimidation, I'll testify to that too." Fletcher laughed. "Testify to whoever you want, old man. By the time any judge hears this case, it'll be too late." He nodded to his men. They moved in. The one at the door reached for Eliza. She screamed. I raised my rifle. But before I could fire, Fletcher drew his pistol and aimed it. Not at me, at Clem. "Put it down, Brennan." Time stopped. Clem stood frozen, eyes wide. Eliza's arms were around her, pulling her back. Dr. Grant had gone pale. "Last chance," Fletcher said. I lowered the rifle. Slow, my hands shaking with rage. Fletcher smiled. "Smart man." He put his pistol back in its holder and motioned to his men. "Bring her out." The hired gun grabbed Eliza's arm. She struggled, but she was weak, still recovering. Clem screamed, "No, you can't take her. She's ours." "Clem," I started, but Fletcher cut me off. "One more thing, Brennan." He stepped close, voice dropping. "You should know the truth about your little charity case." Fletcher pulled out the photograph again, the woman holding the infant. "This is my sister," he said. "Rebecca, prettiest girl in Billings, had everything ahead of her." His jaw tightened. "Then she met him, a Blackfoot trapper. Fell in love, if you can call it that." Eliza had gone completely still. "Family begged her not to," Fletcher continued. "But she wouldn't listen. Got pregnant. Had the baby." He looked at Eliza. "Had you." Clem's grip on Eliza tightened. "Rebecca wanted to keep you," Fletcher said. "But our father wouldn't allow it. Half-breed baby. Shame on the family name. So we made arrangements." "You sold her," Dr. Grant said, voice shaking with disgust. "We paid St. Catherine's to take her, raise her proper, give her a chance at a decent life." Fletcher's eyes were hard. Except she didn't stay grateful. She caused trouble, stirred up accusations, then burned the place down. "I didn't," Eliza started. "Doesn't matter." Fletcher's voice cracked like a whip. "2 boys died and you ran. Made us all look like fools." He stepped closer to her, close enough that I could see the resemblance now. Same nose, same jawline. "Uncle Owen," Eliza whispered. Her face had gone white as snow. Fletcher smiled, cold and mean. "Hello, niece. Been a long time." Her voice broke. You put me in that sack. You were supposed to die quietly, freeze to death. Sad accident. No one would have asked questions. He glanced at me. But you had to go and get rescued. Eliza's knees buckled. Dr. Grant caught her. Clem was crying now, sobbing into Eliza's shoulder. So here's what's going to happen, Fletcher said. You're coming with me, and when you hang for arson and murder, it'll be justice served. Family honor restored. She's not going anywhere, I said. Fletcher turned. You willing to die for her, Brennan? If that's what it takes. What about your daughter? She willing to watch her papa die? Fletcher's smile was cruel. Think about it. You keep her, but when she hangs, Clem will remember. She'll remember her papa chose a murderer over her safety, chose a stranger over his own blood. He got on his horse. You've got until tomorrow, he said. I'll be back with the sheriff and a federal marshal. You hand her over then, or I burn this place to the ground with all of you in it. He turned his horse around. His men followed. They disappeared down the road, leaving deep tracks in the snow. I stood there, rifle in hand, watching them go. Behind me, Eliza collapsed. Dr. Grant eased her to the ground. Clem knelt beside her, small hands on Eliza's face. Mama, she whispered. Please don't leave, please. Eliza couldn't speak, could only cry. Great racking sobs that shook her whole body. Dr. Grant looked at me. What do we do? I stared at the tracks in the snow at the empty road. We fight, I said, but I didn't know how, and I didn't know if we'd win. I woke to silence. Wrong kind of silence. I sat up and looked toward the cot by the fire, empty. Eliza? No answer. I checked the loft. Clem was asleep, curled around her doll. Dr. Grant was in the corner, snoring softly, but Eliza was gone. I grabbed my coat, rifle, boots, and ran outside. The sky was gray with early morning light. Snow had started falling again, light flurries that would soon turn heavy. I found her tracks leading toward the tree line. One foot dragging. Her frostbitten feet couldn't hold her weight properly. Eliza, no response. I followed the tracks. They wobbled drunkenly through the drifts. She'd fallen, gotten up. Fallen again, 50 yards from the house. The tracks stopped. She was face down in the snow, not moving. No, 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 no. I dropped to my knees and rolled her over. Her lips were blue again, eyes closed, skin ice cold. I pressed my ear to her chest. Faint heartbeat, still alive. I lifted her and started back toward the house. She was lighter than before, like she was disappearing. Halfway back, her eyes opened barely. Let me go, she whispered. Not a chance. I'll destroy you, both of you, her voice cracked. Fletcher's right. I'm not worth it. That's not your choice to make. Tears froze on her cheeks. I can't let Clem watch you die for me. I kept walking. Then don't die. Don't run. Stay and fight. I don't know how. I'll teach you. Behind us, I heard a scream. Papa. Clem stood in the doorway, barefoot in the snow. Dr. Grant was behind her, trying to pull her back inside. Papa, don't let Mama go. I climbed the porch steps and carried Eliza inside. Laid her by the fire. Dr. Grant immediately went to work, unwrapping bandages, checking her feet, her hands. Frostbite's worse, he said grimly. Left hand's infected. If it spread, he didn't finish. Didn't have to. Clem crawled next to Eliza and wrapped her small arms around her. Why'd you leave? She whispered. Eliza's eyes were closed, but tears kept coming. I thought if I was gone, you'd be safe. We're not safe without you, Clem said, voice fierce. We're a family. Families don't leave. Eliza opened her eyes and looked at Clem, then at me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know. Dr. Grant finished wrapping fresh bandages. She needs rest and she needs to stay warm. If she goes out again, she won't, I said. I looked at Eliza. She held my gaze. Promise me, I said. She nodded, barely, but it was enough. Outside, the snow fell harder. An hour later, Dr. Grant pulled me aside. She'll lose the hand, he said quietly. Infection's setting in. I can try to treat it, but do what you can. He nodded and paused. There might be another way to protect her. I mean, I'm listening. If she were your wife, Fletcher couldn't take her without your consent. Territorial law. Husband has legal guardianship. I stared at him. It's not ideal, Dr. Grant continued. But it buys time. Time to find that ledger. Time to get more witnesses. Time to build a real case. The door opened. Beatrice stepped in, snow covering her shawl. She'd ridden through the storm. I heard Fletcher was back, she said. He is. She looked at Eliza by the fire, at Clem sitting beside her, then back at me. There's something you should know, Beatrice said. She pulled a worn leather book from her bag. My journal from St. Catherine's. She opened it. Pages yellowed with age. Ink faded but readable. I wrote down everything, she said. Every child who disappeared. Every payment I saw change hands. Every bruise, every scream, every... Her voice wavered. Every wrong that nobody would stop. She turned to a page near the middle and pointed. July 4th, 1869. Infant girl, approximately 6 months old. Half Blackfoot heritage. Sold to the orphanage by Officer O. Fletcher. Payment $200. Initials E.T. I looked at Eliza. She was staring at the journal, tears streaming down her face. If she's your wife, Beatrice said, Fletcher can't touch her without going through you. That's the law. I walked to the window and watched snow fall. Martha had been gone 4 years. 4 long, cold years. I'd worn her ring on a chain around my neck. Never took it off. Now I pulled it off, held it in my palm. Small, simple silver, worn smooth with time. Clem appeared beside me. She looked up and saw the ring. Mama would want her to have it, she said softly. How do you know? Because Mama was like that. She loved people who needed love. I closed my fingers around the ring, looked at Eliza, made my choice. When she wakes up, I said, I'm asking. Beatrice smiled, sad but hopeful. Dr. Grant nodded. And outside, the storm raged on. The church bells rang at noon. Emergency council meeting. Word had spread fast. Fletcher had made sure of it. Told everyone in town that I was harboring a murderer, putting the community in danger. I left Eliza with Dr. Grant and Clyde Morrison, my ranch hand who'd arrived that morning. Brought Clem with me. Didn't want to leave her behind. The church was packed. Townspeople filled the pews, standing room only. Cold stone floors, stained glass casting colored light across serious faces. 3 council members sat at the front. Thomas Webb, the banker, Samuel Cross, who owned the mill, and Margaret Finch, the schoolteacher. They looked uncomfortable. Fletcher stood to the side, arms crossed, smiling. Webb cleared his throat. Mr. Brennan, we've called this meeting to address a serious concern. I know why I'm here. The marshal has informed us that you're harboring a fugitive. A woman wanted for arson and manslaughter. Webb's voice was thin, nervous. Is this true? I'm protecting someone who was left to die in the snow. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Cross leaned forward. That's not what we asked. Is she a fugitive or not? She's a victim. That's not for you to decide, Margaret said. Her voice was softer than the men's, almost sorry. The law tried to kill her, I said. Tied her up, threw her in a sack, left her in a blizzard. That's attempted murder. Fletcher stepped forward. That's a serious accusation, Brennan. You have proof? I have her. Wire cuts on her wrists, brand on her arm. Frostbite that nearly killed her. All circumstantial, Fletcher said smoothly. Could have happened anywhere to anyone. More whispers. Some people nodding. Webb shifted in his seat. Mr. Brennan, if you continue to harbor this woman, we'll have no choice but to revoke your land contracts, your supply agreements. You won't be able to trade in this town. The threat landed like a stone in water. Ripples of shock through the room. You're going to starve me out? I asked. We're going to protect this community, Cross said. If you won't follow the law, you can't be part of it. Clem's hand tightened in mine. I looked at the faces in the pews. Some looked away, ashamed but silent. Others met my eyes, waiting to see what I'd do. She saved my horse, Clem said suddenly. Her voice rang clear in the quiet church. From the creek. It fell through the ice and she pulled it out. She could have died, but she didn't care. She's good. Margaret's expression softened, but she said nothing. Fletcher laughed. Children believe what they want to believe. Doesn't make it true. Children see what's real, I said, before they learn to lie about it. Webb stood. Mr. Brennan, we need your answer. Will you turn her over to the marshal? I opened my mouth to respond. Then the church door swung open. Beatrice walked in. She moved slowly down the aisle. Her leather journal clutched to her chest. Every eye followed her. She stopped at the front and looked at the council, then at Fletcher. I have something to say, she announced. Webb frowned. Mrs. Hollis, this is a closed council session. I worked at St. Catherine's founding home, Beatrice said. Her voice carried through the church. 20 years ago, before I married, before I came here. Silence. Fletcher's smile faded. Beatrice opened the journal. Pages crackled in the quiet. I kept a record, she said. Everything I saw, everything they did to those children. I was too afraid to speak up then. Too afraid they'd hurt me, fire me, make me disappear like the children did. She turned to a page marked with a ribbon. Page 17, July 4th, 1869. Matron sold infant girl, half Blackfoot heritage. Payment received from Officer O. Fletcher. She looked up. Initials in the ledger, E.T. Gasps echoed through the church. Fletcher's jaw clenched. That's a lie. It's documented, Beatrice said calmly. She held up the journal. Dated, witnessed, written in my own hand. 20-year-old hearsay, Fletcher said. Means nothing. There's more. Beatrice turned pages. August 1869. 3 children sold to a factory in Chicago. October 1869. 2 girls, ages 7 and 9, sold to a brothel in Denver. Her voice shook but didn't stop. January 1870, boy, aged 12, died from beatings. Buried in unmarked grave behind the chapel. The church was dead silent now. Margaret Finch had tears in her eyes. Webb looked sick. Beatrice turned to another marked page. And here, February 1889, just last month. Officer Fletcher paid the matron $300. Purpose silence E. Thorne permanently. Fletcher moved fast, lunged for the journal, but I was faster. I stepped between them, rifle raised. Don't, I said. Fletcher stopped. His face was red, furious. That journal is a fabrication, he spat. She's lying to protect a criminal. Why would I lie? Beatrice asked. I have nothing to gain. I'm risking everything by speaking up. Cross stood. If this is true, if even half of this is true. It is, Beatrice said. She looked at the council, at the town's people. Every word. I swear it on my husband's grave. Margaret turned to Fletcher. Is it true? Did you sell a child to that orphanage? It's more complicated than yes or no, Marshal. Fletcher's hands clenched into fists. My sister made a mistake. I corrected it. That's family business. You sold your niece, Margaret said quietly. Your own blood. She was half-breed trash, Fletcher's voice cracked. She had no future. I gave her a chance at a decent life. The admission hung in the air like smoke. Webb sat down slowly. My God. Cross looked at me. Mr. Brennan, we didn't know. You didn't ask, I said. Fletcher straightened his coat and composed himself. None of this changes the fact that she committed arson. That 2 children died. The fire started in the kitchen, Beatrice said. Grease fire. I read about it in the papers. The matron blamed Eliza because she'd been causing trouble, but there were no witnesses. No proof. Except a warrant signed by a judge, Fletcher said. A judge you paid off, Beatrice replied. Fletcher's eyes narrowed. Careful, old woman, or what? Beatrice stepped closer. You'll throw me in a sack, too? The crowd murmured, angry now. Webb stood again. Marshal Fletcher, I think you should leave. This isn't over. Leave now. Fletcher looked around the church and saw the faces turning against him, the tide shifting. He grabbed his hat and stormed toward the door, but he stopped before leaving. Looked back at me. She's Blackfoot, he said. Half-breed. You marry her, you'll be an outcast. Your daughter will be raised by a savage. Clem stepped forward, small but fierce. She's my mama, she said. And I don't care. Fletcher's face twisted. Then he left. The door slammed behind him. The church erupted in whispers. Margaret stood, walked over to Beatrice and placed a hand on the journal. Thank you, she said quietly. For your courage. Beatrice nodded, tears in her eyes. Cross looked at me. Mr. Brennan, your land contracts are safe. Your agreements stand. We apologize. If there's anything you need, Webb added. Witnesses, support, you have it. I looked at the faces in the pews. Some still uncertain, but most nodding now. The tide had turned. Beatrice handed me the journal. Yeah, there's one more thing you should know. On the last page. I opened it and read the entry. Note, infant E.T.'s mother was Sarah Runningwater Blackfoot. Tribe affiliation documented. Treaty rights may apply. I looked up at Beatrice. If she's Blackfoot, Beatrice said. Tribal law supersedes territorial law. Fletcher can't touch her. Hope flickered. Small but real. Clem tugged my sleeve. Does that mean Mama's safe? Maybe, I said. Maybe it does. Outside I heard horses, multiple horses. Fletcher wasn't done yet. We returned to the ranch at dusk. The sky was heavy with clouds, the kind that promised more snow. Dr. Grant met us at the door. His face was serious. She's awake, he said. But something's wrong. Inside, Eliza sat by the fire, staring into the flames. Her bandaged hand rested in her lap. She didn't look up when we entered. Clem ran to her. Papa made them listen. You're safe now, Eliza didn't respond. Clem looked back at me, confused. I sent Clem to the loft with Dr. Grant. Waited until I heard their footsteps on the boards above. Then I sat beside Eliza. Beatrice showed them the journal, I said. Town's on our side now. Fletcher's credibility is gone. She still didn't look at me. There's more, I continued. Your mother was Blackfoot. Treaty rights apply. If the tribe claims you, territorial law can't touch you. Nothing. Eliza. I lit the match. Her voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear it. I went still. She turned to me then. Her eyes were hollow, empty. The ledger room, she whispered. I poured lamp oil on the desk, on the walls. I lit the match and I watched it burn. The fire popped. A log settled, sending sparks up the chimney. You said I lied, her voice cracked. I didn't mean for anyone to die. I just wanted to destroy the evidence before they could move it, before they could erase everything. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but the fire spread faster than I thought. The smoke. I heard screaming. Tried to go back, but the flames. She covered her face with her good hand. 2 boys died in the kitchen, she sobbed. The matron said it was a grease fire, separate from mine. But if I hadn't started the first fire, maybe they wouldn't have been trapped. Maybe they could have gotten out. I sat silent, listening. So maybe Fletcher's right, she whispered. Maybe I am a murderer. Maybe I deserve to hang. The words hung between us like smoke. I looked at my hands, scarred from years of work. Missing 3 toes from a blizzard when I tried to save cattle. Failed. Lost 6 head that night. My wife died in childbirth, I said finally. 4 years ago. I was in town buying supplies. Storm came in fast. By the time I got home, I swallowed. She was gone. So was the baby boy she was carrying. Eliza looked at me. I live with that every day, I said. Wondering if I'd stayed home? Could I have saved them? Could I have done something different? I met her eyes. Guilt means you're human. Means you care. But it doesn't make you a murderer. I started the fire. You tried to burn evidence of evil. That's not the same as burning children. My voice was firm. Those boys died because of a grease fire. Because the matron ran that place like a trap. Because people like Fletcher made sure no one asked questions. But intent doesn't bring them back. No, it doesn't. I leaned forward. But punishing yourself won't bring them back either. All you can do is make sure it meant something. Make sure those names in the ledger, that journal Beatrice kept, that it all comes to light so it never happens again. She closed her eyes, tears streaming. Above us, footsteps. Clem was awake. She climbed down the ladder, nightgown dragging on the floor, walked over and knelt beside Eliza. Did you hear? Eliza whispered. Clem nodded. And you still want me here? Clem took Eliza's scarred hand and held it carefully, mindful of the bandages. Mama used to say, broken things are still good, Clem said softly. You just have to be careful with them. She looked up, eyes wide and clear. Did you try to save the other kids? Eliza nodded. Then you're brave, and brave people make mistakes sometimes. Papa says so. Eliza's breath hitched. She pulled Clem close and held her tight. I don't deserve this, she whispered. Maybe not, I said. But that doesn't mean it isn't yours. Outside, the wind picked up, a long, low howl through the valley. Eliza looked at me over Clem's head. Something in her eyes had changed. Not hope exactly, but maybe the willingness to try. The ledger, she said. It's still buried under the sycamore tree at St. Catherine's. If we can get it, we will, I said. But not tonight. Tonight you rest, she nodded slowly. Clem yawned and curled against Eliza's side. And for a moment, despite everything, we looked like a family. The next morning, Clyde Morrison arrived before dawn. He rode in hard, horse-sweaty despite the cold. "Fletcher's gathering men," he said, breathless. 6, maybe 7. "Heard them talking in town. They're coming tonight." Dr. Grant stood. "We need to leave now." "Can't," I said. "Roads are snowed in. Nearest town is 2 days' ride. We'd freeze before we got there." "So what do we do?" Beatrice asked. She'd stayed the night, sleeping in the chair by the fire. "We need help," I said. "The kind Fletcher can't fight." "Who?" Clyde asked. I looked at Beatrice's journal, at the note about Eliza's mother. "Blackfoot," I said. "If they claim her, tribal law supersedes territorial law. Fletcher can't touch her." "The nearest Blackfoot settlement is 15 miles north," Clyde said. "Through the pass. Storm's supposed to hit tonight. Can you make it?" Clyde looked at his hands, already scarred from years of ranch work, then at Eliza, who was listening from the cot. "I can try," he said. "You'll lose fingers," Dr. Grant warned. "Maybe worse." "Better my fingers than her life," Clyde said simply. I gripped his shoulder. "Find Chief Silent Hawk. Tell him about Eliza, about her mother. Ask him to invoke treaty law. And if he won't—" "He will," Beatrice said. "I know his sister. She lost a daughter to St. Catherine's 10 years ago. He'll understand." Clyde nodded and started for the door. "Wait," Eliza said. She stood and moved slowly to the table, pulled back her sleeve and showed the brand. "Tell him about this. Tell him they mark us like cattle." Clyde's jaw tightened. "I will." He got on his horse and turned north toward the pass. We watched him disappear into the gray dawn. "He won't make it back in time," Dr. Grant said quietly. "He has to," I said. Inside, I pulled Eliza aside. "There's something I need to ask you, and I need you to think carefully before you answer." She waited. "If the tribe claims you, you'll have to go through a ceremony. 3 questions, Beatrice says. Truth trial. They'll ask about your heritage, your intent, your future." I paused. "They'll ask you to claim your mother's blood publicly. I've been taught to be ashamed of it my whole life," she whispered. "I know." She looked at the fire, at Clem, who was watching from the loft. "If I claim it," she said slowly, "I'll be Blackfoot legally, spiritually. Yes, and if Fletcher still tries to take you, he'll be violating treaty law. That's an act of war." She was quiet for a long moment. "Then what if I fail? What if I can't answer the questions right?" "There's no right answer," Beatrice said from her chair. "Only true answers." Eliza nodded slowly. "Then I'll do it." I pulled the silver ring from my pocket. Martha's ring. "There's one more thing," I said. "If you're my wife, Fletcher can't take you without my consent. It's not as strong as tribal law, but it's another shield." Eliza stared at the ring. "I'm not asking because I pity you," I said. "I'm asking because Clem needs a mother. Because this house needs life in it again. And because," I swallowed, "because I think Martha would want this. Would want you to have what she can't." Eliza's hand trembled as she reached for the ring. But before she could take it, we heard them. Horses, many horses. Fletcher had arrived early. Dr. Grant looked out the window. 7 men, armed. I grabbed my rifle. "Beatrice, take Clem to the root cellar. Stay there no matter what you hear." "Papa," Clem started. "Go now." Beatrice pulled her toward the back door. Eliza stood beside me. "I'm not hiding. You need to—" I said I'm not hiding. Her voice was steady. "Not anymore." Outside, Fletcher's voice rang out. "Brennan, send her out or we're coming in." I looked at Eliza, at Dr. Grant, at the door that would either hold or break. "Together then," I said. We stepped onto the porch. 7 men on horses, guns drawn. Fletcher in the center smiling. "Last chance," he said. Behind us, in the distance, I heard something. Drumming, faint but growing louder. Fletcher heard it too. His smile faded. From the north, through the snow, they came. 6 riders, Blackfoot warriors on painted horses. And at the front, an old man with silver braids and a face carved by time. Chief Silent Hawk had arrived. Chief Silent Hawk got off his horse slowly. His warriors remained on their horses, rifles across their laps, silent, watchful. Fletcher's men shifted nervously. The chief walked forward, his moccasins leaving shallow prints in the snow. He stopped 10 feet from the porch and studied Eliza for a long moment. Then he spoke in Blackfoot. His voice carried like wind through grass. Eliza shook her head. "I don't understand." "He asks if you know your mother's name." Beatrice translated from the doorway. Eliza's breath caught. No, they never told me. The chief switched to English, accented but clear. Sarah Running Water, daughter of 2 moons, granddaughter of White Buffalo Woman. He paused. Your mother? Tears welled in Eliza's eyes. What is this? Fletcher demanded. This girl is a criminal. Tribal jurisdiction doesn't. Treaty of 1855, Silent Hawk said quietly. Any person with Blackfoot blood may claim tribal protection. Your law has no voice here. She's barely Blackfoot. Half-breed at best. Blood is blood. Silent Hawk's eyes were cold. You sold her to erase shame. We claim her to restore honor. He turned back to Eliza. You wish to be daughter of the Blackfoot? Yes. Then you must answer 3 questions. Before witnesses, before sky and earth, he gestured. Come. Eliza stepped off the porch. I moved to follow. Silent Hawk raised a hand. She walks alone. I stopped and watched as Eliza moved through the snow toward the chief. The warriors formed a circle. Dr. Grant, Beatrice, and the townspeople who'd followed from the church joined them. Even Fletcher's men got off their horses, drawn by something larger than their orders. Clem appeared from the root cellar and slipped her hand into mine. Silent Hawk drew a knife, cut his palm, and let 3 drops of blood fall onto the snow. First question, he said. Do you accept your mother's blood? The blood that was called shame? Eliza's voice was steady. I do. I was taught to hide it, to be ashamed. I'm not anymore. Silent Hawk nodded. Second question. What wrong do you seek to make right? Eliza looked at the circle of faces. At Beatrice, at me. Children were sold, she said. Beaten, branded, erased. I seek justice for them, for all of us who had no voice. And if justice costs your life, then I've already lived longer than I should have. Whispers rippled through the witnesses, respectful, approving. Silent Hawk raised his hand. Silence fell. Third question. He stepped closer. What name will you claim? The name they gave you or the name you choose? Eliza closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were clear. Morning thaw, she said. Because I was frozen and now I'm not. The chief smiled, small but real. He drew a pouch from his belt and opened it. Inside, sage and sweetgrass. He lit it. Smoke rose, sharp and clean. By sky witness, by earth witness, by blood witness, he said, passing the smoke over Eliza's head. You are Morning Thaw, daughter of Sarah Running Water, daughter of the Blackfoot people. He placed his hand on her head and spoke Blackfoot, a blessing long and rhythmic. When he finished, the warriors got off their horses. One by one they approached Eliza, touched her shoulder, acknowledged her. Clem broke free from my hand and ran to Eliza. Mama! Eliza knelt and wrapped her arms around her. Silent Hawk turned to Fletcher. She is ours now, under treaty law. If you take her, you take from the Blackfoot Nation. That is an act of war. Fletcher's face was red. This is a farce. She's a murderer. Can't just... We can. Silent Hawk's voice was iron. And we have. Fletcher looked at his men. They wouldn't meet his eyes. This isn't over, Fletcher said. But his voice had lost its edge. It is, I said. Hoofbeats echoed from the road. Another rider moving fast. Clyde Morrison appeared through the snow. His face was gray with cold. His hands wrapped in bloody bandages. He got off his horse and stumbled. Dr. Grant caught him. Clyde? I started. Got it, he gasped. He pulled a leather-bound book from inside his coat, covered in dirt and ice. The ledger. Beatrice's hands flew to her mouth. How? I asked. Rode to St. Catherine's first before the tribe. He swayed. Dug it up, then rode north, gave it to the chief's men. They brought me back. Dr. Grant unwrapped Clyde's hands. 2 fingers on his right hand were black, frostbitten beyond saving. You fool, Dr. Grant muttered, but his voice was gentle. Clyde grinned. Worth it. I took the ledger and opened it carefully. Pages brittle with age and cold. Names, dates, amounts. June 1867, O. Fletcher. Received $200. Infant E.T. August 1869, factory sale. $150 per child. October 1869, Denver. $300 per girl, page after page. Transaction after transaction. Children sold like livestock. I held it up. Everyone here is a witness. This is the proof. Fletcher lunged for it. I stepped back. Silent Hawk's warriors moved forward, blocking him. That's stolen property, Fletcher shouted. That's evidence, I said. Evidence of child trafficking, of corruption, of murder. I handed the ledger to Beatrice. Read it out loud so everyone hears. She opened it. Her voice shook at first, then grew stronger. June 1867. Payment received from Officer Owen Fletcher. Infant sold to St. Catherine's. Half Blackfoot female. She looked up. That's you, Eliza. You were sold for $200. Gasps from the crowd. Beatrice continued. August 1869. 3 children, ages 8 to 12, sold to Chicago factory. Payment $450, her voice broke. October 1869. 2 girls, ages 7 and 9, sold to Denver brothel. Payment $600. Women in the crowd were crying now. Men's faces were stone. February 1889, Beatrice read. Payment to Matron Winters from O. Fletcher. Purpose, permanent silence of E. Thorne. Amount $300. She closed the book and looked at Fletcher. You paid to have her killed. Fletcher's composure cracked. She was going to ruin everything. The orphanage, my career, my family name. He pointed at Eliza. She should have stayed quiet. Should have been grateful. Grateful, Eliza's voice cut through the air. For being sold, beaten, branded. You were nothing, Fletcher shouted. A half-breed bastard. I gave you a roof, food. You had no right to... I had every right. Eliza stepped forward. I had the right to live, to be treated like a human being, to not be sold like property. Silent Hawk raised his hand. You have confessed before witnesses that you sold your sister's child, that you paid for her death. Fletcher realized his mistake and went pale. He looked around and saw the faces, the anger, the disgust. He ran, made it 3 steps before the warriors caught him. They brought him back and forced him to his knees in the snow. Silent Hawk looked at me. This is your land, your law. What justice do you seek? I looked at Fletcher, broken, desperate. Part of me wanted revenge, wanted to make him hurt the way he'd hurt Eliza, the way he'd hurt all those children. But I thought of Martha, of what she'd say. Let the law have him, I said. Real law, not his corrupted version. Federal marshal, trial, prison. I paused. Let him live with what he's done. That's worse than dying. Silent Hawk nodded, approval in his eyes. Fletcher looked up at me. You self-righteous fool. You think this changes anything? You think you can just play happy family with a half-breed murderer? I knelt down and met his eyes. She's not a murderer, I said quietly. But you are. You killed those children the day you sold them. Killed your sister's baby the day you threw her away. Killed your own soul for money and pride. I stood, pulled the ring from my pocket and walked to Eliza. The crowd went silent. I knelt in the snow before her. I'm not asking because of Fletcher, I said. Not because of the law. I'm asking because I choose you. Because Clem chooses you. Because this life is better with you in it. Eliza's hand covered her mouth, tears streaming. Will you marry me? I asked. Not as protection, as family. She nodded. Couldn't speak. Just nodded. I slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Clem cheered, ran to us and wrapped her arms around both of us. The crowd erupted, clapping, whistling. Even the warriors smiled. Silent Hawk raised his arms. By Blackfoot law, by your law, by the law of the heart, this woman is claimed, protected, honored. He looked at Fletcher. And this man is condemned. Dr. Grant and 2 townsmen tied Fletcher's hands. Would take him to the federal marshal in the morning. As they led him away, Fletcher looked back once. This isn't justice, he spat. No, I said. It's mercy. More than you deserve. 2 days later, the federal marshal arrived. Older man, gray beard, hard eyes. Marshal Thomas. He read the ledger, listened to testimonies, examined Eliza's brand, and took Fletcher into custody without argument. Dual jurisdiction, Caney said. Territorial law for fraud and corruption. Tribal law for blood crimes against Blackfoot citizens. He looked at Fletcher. You'll stand trial in both courts. I want a lawyer, Fletcher demanded. You'll get one. Won't help much. Caney's smile was grim. Evidence is pretty clear. 3 weeks later, word came. Fletcher had been sentenced. 20 years hard labor. Federal work camp building roads in the Montana wilderness. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. He'd sold children to labor camps. Now he'd die in one. Think he'll make it 20 years? Dr. Grant asked. Doesn't matter, I said. Justice is justice. Clem looked up from her drawing. Is the bad man gone, Papa? Yes, sweetheart. He's gone. Good. She returned to her picture. 3 stick figures holding hands and a 4th, smaller one. Who's that? Eliza asked, pointing to the small figure. Baby, Clem said matter-of-factly. You're going to have a baby. I dreamed it. Eliza's hand went to her stomach. Her eyes met mine. We'd been married 2 weeks. Ceremony at the church. Whole town came. Maybe, Eliza said softly. Someday, Clem smiled. Soon, I know. Outside, snow was melting. Spring was coming. The second ceremony, the real one, the one that mattered, happened at the creek where I'd found her. March thaw had begun. Ice was breaking, water flowing underneath, clear and cold. Silent Hawk performed the rites. Blackfoot and Christian mixed together. Words in 2 languages. Blessings from 2 worlds. Eliza wore a simple dress, white cotton. Beatrice had sewn it. Martha's blue handkerchief was tucked in the collar. Something borrowed. Something blessed. I wore my best shirt. The ring I'd given her gleamed on her hand. Clem stood beside us, holding a basket of early wildflowers, snowdrops, and crocuses. First blooms of spring. Marriage, Silent Hawk said, is not the joining of 2 perfect people. It is the promise of 2 wounded hearts to heal together, to stand when storms come, to thaw when winter passes. He looked at me. Do you choose this woman not as she was, but as she is? I do. Do you promise to protect not just her body, but her spirit, her voice, her truth? I do. He turned to Eliza. Do you choose this man, this child, this life? I do, she whispered. Do you promise to let yourself be loved? To trust when fear says run? To root when the world says you don't belong? Her voice was stronger. I do. Silent Hawk placed their hands together and wrapped a beaded cord around their wrists. By sky, by earth, by water breaking free, he said. You are bound not by law alone, but by choice, not by necessity, but by love. As he spoke, the ice beneath them cracked. A loud snap that echoed through the valley. Water surged forward, rushing over stones. Alive. Clem clapped. It's a sign. Silent Hawk smiled. It is. I kissed Eliza, gentle, certain. When we pulled apart, she was crying but smiling. I'm home, she whispered. You are, I said. The crowd cheered. Beatrice, Dr. Grant, Clyde with his bandaged hands, townspeople who'd stood with us. Even the warriors nodded approval. We walked back toward the ranch, Clem between us holding both our hands. Behind us, water flowed, ice melted, spring arrived. Papa? Clem asked. Yes. Can we go back next year on the day you found Mama? To remember? Eliza looked at me. Every year, I promised. We'll remember. Clem smiled. Good, because that's the day our family started. She wasn't wrong. At the ranch, Clyde had rebuilt the barn. Neighbors had helped. New wood, strong beams, better than before. Someone had carved something into the doorframe. A Blackfoot symbol. Morning thaw, Silent Hawk explained. Home had a name now. We stood on the porch looking out at the land. Snow melting, green pushing through, life returning. Thank you, Eliza said quietly. For what? For not leaving me in the snow. I took her hand. Thank you for not staying there. Clem tugged at us. Come on, I want to show Mama my new drawings. We went inside. The fire was burning, food cooking, laughter filling the space that had been silent too long. That night after Clem fell asleep, Eliza and I sat by the fire. She pulled something from her pocket, the burlap sack, folded small. Why did you keep that? I asked. To remember where I came from, she said. How far Grace carried me. She placed it on the mantel beside Martha's photograph. Past and present, death and life, all part of the same story. Outside, a coyote howled. Spring wind answered. And inside, we were warm. That was January to April of 1889, 43 years ago now. I'm an old man. Knees creak when storms come. But I remember every detail like it happened this morning. Eliza Morning Thaw, the tribe calls her. Never got full use of that left hand. Frostbite took 3 fingers, same as it took Clyde's. They wear matching gloves. Beatrice knitted them. Joke about it now. Call themselves the Winter Survivors. Clyde's been forming here 30 years. Never married. Says he's already part of the family. Eats Sunday dinner with us every week. Clem's 48 now. Has 6 children of her own. Still calls Eliza Mama. Her kids call her Grandma Morning Thaw. They know the story. All of it. The sack, the snow, the uncle who tried to kill her. They know because we tell them. Every spring when the creek breaks, we go down there. Stand where I found her, where we married. Listen to the water move. Life returning. That's what spring is. We found out later that Ledger freed 42 children. St. Catherine's was shut down. Matron prosecuted. Took 3 years, but justice came. Slow as spring thaw, but it came. Fletcher died in that labor camp. 5 years in. Pneumonia, they said. I didn't celebrate, but I didn't mourn either. Some men make their own hells. Eliza and I had 3 more children. 2 boys, 1 girl. The youngest has her grandmother's dark hair, sings in Blackfoot, belongs to both worlds. The burlap sack still on the mantel beside Martha's photograph, beside Eliza's tribal adoption certificate. Reminders. I've learned a few things in 72 years. 1, the coldest winters make the best stories. 2, family's not about blood. It's about who you'd walk through a blizzard for. 3, the people you save end up saving you right back. Spring always comes. You just have to survive the winter.